Hi, welcome back to Faith and Love with Williams. And if you are watching us for the first time, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have been our viewer all this while, we appreciate you. And thank you for liking the videos, sharing, and we are actually growing. And I'm grateful. Today we're going to be talking on a topic that has been popping up on my For You page. Can I ignore it? No. Why can't I ignore it? Because it's directly related to what touches me the most, marriage and divorce. And that topic is no other topic than sexual revolution, feminism, and liberalism. Does sexual revolution actually liberate women or enslaves women? Has sexual revolution contributed positively to the growth and the ascertainment of women's role in the society, or has it led to much more depression and the objectification of women? I want us to sit tight as we dissect this topic one step at a time. Sexual revolution, a movement that started in the 1960s in the United States and in other parts of the Western world, was actually led by a group of people that thought at a certain point, that had the feeling at a certain point in time that women had been enslaved, that women had been relegated and kept in a place where they were not being productive. They had subjected women within the confines of the house, so that the role and responsibility of a woman was just to take care of her husband. Sexual revolution was meant as an emancipatory kind of idea or ideology to relieve women from this slavery that they called. That a woman's place was not just meant to be in the kitchen or in the bedroom or at the background listening to her husband. That a woman was not just meant to be a shadow of her own husband, but she was meant to be the head. She was meant to be a leader. In other ways, like removing people out of the box. They were removing women out of the box and bringing women to the broader picture. So in the 1960s, they introduced women to popping the pills, like taking pills to control your own sexuality, determine whether to get pregnant, how to get pregnant or not, determining whether your job is more important than actually building a family. If you actually want to be a career woman, yes, of course you can be. And how can you be a career woman successfully? You can still be married and you can take all these pills, so many pills that will stop you from conceiving and having children. And at this point, you'll be emancipated. You'll not just be emancipated, you'll be powerful. You become the picture they call feminist, the strong woman, the woman that is a force to reckon with. That is what sexual revolution was all about. Women emancipation, mostly sexual emancipation, and their role in the household. Now, what were the key factors that drove this sexual revolution? One was women emancipation, removing woman from the background and making her the wheel. Like women were desiring to hold key responsibilities in the corporate field, in the military, in the political domain. Just positions that was not only meant to be in the household or in the kitchen level. That was one of the key factors. The second key factor was the second wave of feminism, the act of separating woman from her major responsibility being procreation. Remember, I stand so much with procreation because I know there is nothing as empowering as procreating. Hence, you understand my reason why I'm interested in this topic. Feminism came to tell the woman that aside from the fact that you should bring life, or you should birth life, you can be something better. And what is that better thing that feminists were presenting that was even far better than creating lives, getting a job, sitting on the seat of a man, sitting on the table and making decisions? Another thing that came to buttress the fact that feminism or sexual liberalization was a thing in the 1960s was the liberation on sexual rules. You know, moral decadence as at the 1960s was a crime. Before the 1960s was a crime. Women were not allowed to dress half naked publicly. It was considered a shame and a reproach, not just to the husband or to the parents, but even to that society. Virtue was linked to decency. And feminism or sexual liberalization saw that as a problem. That no, a woman has the right to dress in whatever manner she chooses. That covering up your body is the reason why you're getting raped. So, why don't we expose the whole body and sell it cheap and make it affordable and loose and free for everybody to see? The more men see how sensual you look, the less you're being liable to rape. That is what feminism and sexual revolution was promoting. That women should go half naked on the streets. Own your femininity. Be proud about it. The more your boobs is showing, or the more your ass is wiggling in your dress, the less potency of rape you're exposed to. Another issue was young people rejecting conservatism. Young people decided that no, we don't want to be conservatives anymore. Being a housewife, or being a good wife, or being an epitome of virtue, something that represents goodness in the society, was boring. It had become so boring that young people in the 1960s said, no, we don't want to be boring. We want to be out there. We want to be party and fun. And it became a pressing issue for the government to give young people the freedom to have abortion, the freedom to have sex, premarital sex, the freedom to kill babies. Sexual revolution was part of it. That no, if you don't want to get married, as a man, you're being emancipated, so you have the freedom to have as much sex as you feel like. And not just having more sex, you have the freedom to get rid of the consequences of sex, which was legalizing abortion. Or, better still, you can take pills that may not just stop you from conceiving, but can actually make you sterile for the rest of your life. Or, they can make you barren forever. And they can even cause side effects if truly you subsequently decide to get pregnant. It can even make you have a child that will have barrenness problem. That was the work of sexual revolution. And our feminists in the society, taking marriage out of the box, taking the woman out of the box. Oprah said they took God out of the box.
I took God out of the box.
So the principles and everything that God gave for us to live our life in accordance to that principle so that we can have peace. They said no. People so enlightened said, let us take God out of the box and present God. Or let us take marriage out of the box. Let's take decency out of that box of decency and introduce and sprinkle some dose of indecency to it and see how the society will be. Hence, sexual revolution. Then to promote this, what did they do? They introduced it in the curriculum. The school started teaching people about homosexuality. That's part of sexual revolution. That you can be whatever you are. You can be they, them, he, her, whatever it is. You can swap. It is according to feeling. Remember, Oprah equally said, God is not a belief. God is a feeling. So
God is a feeling experience, not a believing experience.
According to how you feel, like identifying yourself, how you wake up. If you wake up on the right hand and your right brain tells you that today, you got to identify like a man or you got to identify like a woman. That means you're liberal enough. That means you're revolutionized. That means you're free. You're walking in the depth of freedom. Hence, sexual revolution. So what was it all about? You can be they, them. You can identify as anything you want to be. And it's okay. So when our psychologists like Sigmund Freud, they start finding theories and introducing it in our curriculum and teaching our children that insanity or madness is actually good. And doctors come outside now and say, with all due respect, you are not the specialist, I am the specialist. And with all due respect, sir, men can actually have children. That is what sexual revolution was all about. Changing the position of everything. juxtaposing everything, turning everything up. Boys can kiss boys, girls can kiss girls. The news. And then our politicians. If those promoting sexual revolution have much money, why don't we pass bills that will favor them instead? And keep away the sanity. Why don't we introduce a little bit of insanity into our system? Why don't we bring in a little bit of madness just to spice up the, our livelihood, our daily lives? Sexual revolution. And we now had our feminists on the train. Chimamanda Adichie, our very known, renowned feminist. Those are some of the ideas that was entailed around the title called feminism. Whatever it is you choose to define feminism, I don't really care. But one thing I know for sure is that sexual revolution, the liberalization of women had a lot to do with being a feminist. Selling yourself less than what it is had a lot to do with being a feminist. Probably some people later on understood that feminism does not mean nakedness, but the damage had been done. Homes had been broken. Families were broken. Women were leaving the confines of their homes, abandoning the responsibility of raising these beautiful kids that God blessed them with, of protecting and keeping the family according to Proverbs 31 verse 10. And you will hear them say that was when sexual revolution came. Women being empowered. And I'm wondering, what was the empowerment? Was it an empowerment of negativity or was it an empowerment of virtue? What was it exactly they were empowering women to do? Because according to Proverbs 31 verse 10, women were already empowered. Proverbs 31 verse 10 says, get this, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax and worked willingly with her hands. That is a woman. That is a woman working for me. That's a woman having a job for me. So I don't understand where sexual revolution means women now having jobs. Sexual revolution was just a rebellious movement for women to start rebelling against what is right. The society telling women to rebel against virtue. The society telling women to rebel against morality and stand with moral decadence. The society telling women to rebel against life and stand with murder. The society telling women to rebel against nature and stand with science. Science that has the potency of creating and destroying. That destroys more than it creates. That is what if you ask me, that is what sexual revolution all was about. Let me read verse 12. Verse 14. She is like a merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. That's a woman. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maids. That's a woman. She wakes up early to make sure her children are well fed, and even her maids. Sexual revolution came to tell you that no, you're not supposed to have a family where you feed your children. You're not even supposed to have maids and create more employment for other people to work. You're not supposed to have something beautiful to come back to. You're supposed to have sex and a lot of it, and an empty home, and a very lonely old age. That's what sexual revolution came to do. Let me read verse 16. She considered a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands, she planted a vineyard. I don't know whether we buy field without money. And if you think a woman's role was just in the house, according to how history put it, the Bible is telling you, the oldest book in the world is telling you, women used to buy fields, but they were still virtuous. Women used to do business. They were still virtuous. Women used to feed their families. They were still honorable and humble and still virtuous. And they didn't walk half naked. Hence, sexual revolution. That came to tell you otherwise. Let me read verse 18. She perceived that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. This is a hardworking woman, a woman of virtue, a woman that does not rest until she is successful. A woman that even in the midst of her success, she doesn't neglect her role as a mother earth. She doesn't switch into escapism, into they, them, or BD, or whatever it is they call. She doesn't become a lesbian so that she can escape pregnancy and cohabit and live with another woman where there will be so much violence and abuse and depression and pain. Not just physical and mental abuse, even drug abuse. She will not trade the fleshly pleasure for plastic, for rubber-made pleasure, for something manufactured in the factory with plastics that are harmful to the body. You rather trade flesh to flesh, to hang out with rubber because it is called sexual revolution. What an illusion. What a stupidity. It's so sad. It is so sad. It's actually depressing that women can be this deceived. And if you read down, you will discover that a virtuous woman, a woman of great virtue, doesn't just work. She makes a lot of money. She buys properties. She makes her husband proud. She raises her children. She can afford to keep maids. She has maids. She feeds people. She has businesses. She's running an empire. Yet, she's not a feminist. She's a woman that makes her husband proud. That when she sits in a crowd, her husband is looked upon as a king. That is what a woman is. She is celebrated. Let me read from verse 25 coming down. Let's go to verse 25 coming down. Hear what verse 25 says. Strength and honor are her clothing. Do you see what virtue does to a woman? Strength and honor are her clothing. Not OnlyFans. Sexual revolution made you to understand that OnlyFans are your clothing. That bikini, like beach wear, are your clothing. Moving with a tight, half naked, are your clothing. Going around half clad are your clothing. Being sexually provocative are your clothing. Hear what it says, verse 25. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. That's what virtue does. It takes away sadness, and even in your old age, you are so satisfied and fulfilled. Something sexual revolution can never offer you. Something all this thing called feminism and charade can never bring to your table. It gives you a home. It gives you a family. It gives you love. It gives you strength. It gives you stamina. It gives you wisdom. It gives you an established business. That is what virtue does. That is what being called a woman, according to the oldest book in the world, the Bible, does to you. That is what it is. That is what it does to you. That is what being called a woman does. Not being called a feminist. Being called a feminist has nothing to offer you but pain, loneliness, sadness, and anger. It may look good at the beginning. You know, everything that comes with the devil is flashy. But I bet you, as liberated as it looks, it is actually slavery in the long run. As simple and as free as you think it is, at the back of it is slavery. At the back of it is the fact that you're slaving for money. It doesn't come easy. You slave for it. At the back of it is the fact that you're so cheap. Men price you cheaply. You become the cheapest commodity in the market. At the back of it is the fact that you lose value. And let me tell you something. In that society where you think you're so emancipated, You are not still taken seriously. Because what men will slide in and get out easily, you'll be made to lie on your back before getting it. So why are we being deceived? But let me tell you, as a woman that is conserved and reserved and decent, and understand her place and role and manages it rightly, according to verse 26, she opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness, and is kind and is wise. She looketh well to the way of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. She is not idle. A woman that is not... Sexual revolution is the work of idleness, where people have so much time in their hands to be indecent, to be having sex, to be discussing things that are not important, to find yourself doing only a fan page. If you had a family, if you have children, you won't idle. You will do something useful. And for those ones they call cis women that don't have children, you are still useful in virtue. Because besides not having children, you have a household to take care of. You have a business to manage. So from business to household to management, where does the devil actually have time to penetrate your mind and tell you to identify as they, them, or to go after the next man or whatever it is? You're busy because you're performing the duty of a virtuous woman. And there is nothing as empowering as that. There is nothing as powerful as being a mother. There is nothing as powerful as running the household business. Because it is in running the household business that the same diligence you use in managing the household business, you will use in managing the outside business. It is that simple. Sexual revolution can never offer you that. Feminism can never offer you that. If the feminism you're learning is the one the West is teaching you, you're doomed. Verse 28, her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praised her. What is more beautiful than that? What is more beautiful than that? To be called blessed by your children, for your table to be surrounded by your children. Most of you are in foster home because you let the system, in care homes. Most of you parents are in care homes because you allowed the system educate your children that taking care of you at old age is a waste of time. You allow your children pass through a system that tells them that being humble to have other people the same way you had them is a waste of time. That is why you're in care home. That is why you're crying. And that is why you're lonely. Sexual revolution. Let's clap for you. And verse 30 says, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Did you hear that? I didn't say that. For those that call themselves doctors, no, I'm the doctor here, I'm the specialist here. Did you hear that? That is ancient knowledge. That is inside the box. It was not taken out of the box. It was not edited and made to look as if it is perfect. It wasn't. That is a knowledge that has nothing to do with sexual revolution. A knowledge of how empowering virtue can be. A knowledge of how empowering it is to be a wife and a humble woman. God automatically gives you wisdom, knowledge, and power. That even in the gates of the nation, you're recognized, you're mentioned. And the more your children go, the greater you become. And the more successful you are. What does sexual revolution give us? Premarital sex, the use of contraception, abortion, homosexuality, sex education, teaching children at the age of 10 having sex. You're educating them how to use condom. Women's own autonomy. And objectification of women. Women are now for sale. And what was it? What are the consequences of all these things? Premarital sex, abortion everywhere. Rise in prostitution. Rise in objectification of women. You go to social media, they are buying women cheap. Your daughter is for sale at a very cheap cost. You are getting married and you're happy. You're young now. You're happy. The women you're calling on the streets are those that are moving half naked. How can you protect your children from seeing all those things? Sexual revolution. And it's so unfortunate that the trend towards that, the crowd falling for that sham is so huge. But I'm here to tell you, if you are one of those people that is planning to have a family, that is planning to build a home, and you think you're going to invoke this feminist idea or sexually revolutionized idea into your home and raise a family that will be based on virtue, you're in a dreamland. It won't happen. If you have all these ideas in your head, that you'll be popping pills, of course. You'll be committing abortion, and you'll be having premarital sex, and you'll be teaching your children how to have premarital sex, and you think you're going to have a very solid and grounded family, and you're going to grow old in ripe old age and have peace. It won't happen, because you can't eat your cake and have it. So on this note, to all our liberal friends, those that say they are liberated, ask yourself if you're truly liberated. Ask yourself if identifying to all those things has brought you happiness and fulfillment. Ask yourself if truly it has. It's not about an illusion of being happy. It's about being actually happy when you sit with yourself. Ask yourself if you are truly happy. Ask yourself if that unfruitful relationship actually makes you happy. Ask yourself if that baby you are encouraging someone to murder actually makes you happy. The blood you're shedding actually makes you happy. And let me also tell you another consequence of sexual revolution. The spread of evil spirits. The increase in demons. There are demons everywhere looking for empty vessels like those that are sexually revolutionized to occupy. And they have occupied a lot of them. And they are spreading that gospel of wickedness everywhere. For you to have a home, a solid home, madam, you have to be conserved, reserved, and virtuous. It is that way or no way. Either you are conserved, reserved, and virtuous, or you are not. Or you are liberated, enlightened, and emancipated. Choose wisely, because a time will come. You're going to answer those questions to yourself. I don't have to be there with you. You will answer them. And don't let anybody deceive you. The pills we are popping and those things we put in our hands, saying we are revolutionized, that's the more reasons why, that's what causes a lot of cis women, as they call it, infertility. The food we eat is making us infertile. And they are doing it deliberately so that they can tell us that cis women cannot get pregnant, just like men can't get pregnant. Bullshit. Boo. Cock and bull. They will put you and promote it. Bring science to promote things that will make you feel incapable, incompetent. And you would think that that's the only solution. That is not. I am telling you fully, with my full chest, it is not. So for those of you that think sexual revolution is the answer, remember, it has led to objectification and the sale of women. And women are so very cheap. So for every woman that is claiming they are emancipated and they are revolutionized, think wisely. Sexual revolution has never been the answer, and it will never be. God bless you. I'm expecting your comments in the comment section. Till next time, see you again.